How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid and we're going to be talking about Chargepoint. If you remember what I said in my previous video, I said, hey, this is not a good sign. It looks like these stocks are due for a pullback, and that is exactly what is happening. We've also noticed this in the market overall. And before I was putting this video together, I saw for Google and as well as for Microsoft, they ended up missing on their estimates when it comes to earnings. So of course, we want to look forward to what that guidance is going to be. Unfortunately, by the time I put this video out, they're probably going to be going through it. So that's why I'll probably update you guys going into tomorrow. But aside from that, let's keep the focus on Lucid as well as for Chargepoint. We're going to be taking a look at the charts. We're going to be taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. And then when all of that is done, I'll be giving you guys the final recap. So let's get into those videos right now. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $18.09, being down 3.47%. On the low, it tested $17.89, and then on the high, testing $18.57. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 10.988 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 13.365 million shares. So we had below average volume on the day, and we also had a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the daily chart, you can see that we are continuing to have a selling pressure, and I also pointed that out in a previous video. We also got below our major moving averages at the 9 EMA, the 50 EMA, and as well as the 21 EMA. So of course, this is not a great sign, and it's part of the reasons why the stock continues to downtrend. And if you look at the bottom of this range, it's right here around 1638. So if we continue to have weakness in these markets, I could see Lucid getting down here sometime this week. We also have a gap that needs to be filled right here around 1725. So that is something that you want to keep on watch and see if it can fill in that gap within the next 2 days, which would be Wednesday or Thursday. If you want to see a turnaround inside of the play, then at least it needs to come back to the 21 EMA, which is at 1924. If it could come back to reclaim 1924, hold support, then we can get a move back to the psychological area right around $20, and then you'd want to see what it would do from there. If it can reclaim $20, then you want to see if it can make that move and get above 2061. In my personal opinion, this is going to be a very difficult feat, and I get to see this downtrend continuing for this stock as this week progresses. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. Scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings for the 26th, we have First Premier Bank that purchased 85 shares. We have Joseph P. Lucia and Associates that purchased 3,055 shares. We have Key Financial that purchased 300 shares, and we have Venture Visionary Partners LLC that purchased 2,062 shares, and Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Holdings Inc. that purchased just over 1.27 million shares. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 56.01%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 2.46 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 200,000, updated 30 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 13.16%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 22nd, it was at 57.57, and then for the close of the 25th, being at 56.01. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 21.79%, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Chargepoint. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $12.75, being down 4.28%. On the low, it tested $12.66, and then on the high, testing $13.20. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 4.54 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 8.205 million shares. So we had below average volume on the day, and we also had a pullback on the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is the daily chart, you can see that Chargepoint is dealing dealing with a good amount of selling pressure. We are now trading below our major moving averages at the 50 EMA, the 9 EMA, and as well as the 21 EMA. So we had support at 1266. If we continue to see some selling pressure, I can see Chargepoint filling in this gap at 1162. It's already highlighted because I talked about this in a previous video and told you to add it to your notes. If it decides to have a turnaround, or if that's what you're looking for out of this play, it needs to get back at least above the 9 EMA, which is right around $13.19. It's not too far off right now at the time of this recording. In the pre-market, it's at $12.83. And then upon doing that, you want to see if you could use the 50 EMA as an area of support, which is right around $13.39, and then seeing what it would do from there. In my personal opinion, I don't see Chargepoint being able to make a move back to $15 for this week. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Chargepoint. Scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So we're going to take a look at the recent filings we have for the 26th. We have B&T Capital Management that purchased 11,038 shares. We have Venture Visionary Partners LLC that purchased 1,164 shares. We also have STRS Ohio that purchased 390,000 shares. And for the 25th, we have Toth Financial Advisory Corp that purchased 100 shares. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 52.52%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is at 868,552 shares. When we scroll down on the page, the short shares availability is at 1.1 million, updated 1 minute ago, and then for the short ball fee rate, it is at 3.98%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 22nd, it was at 50.79, and then for the close of the 25th, it was at 52.52. And then taking a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 17.49%, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. So to give you guys my final recap for Lucid and for Chargepoint, let's start off with Chargepoint. So as you know already, we have a gap that needs to be filled to the downside around $11.60. And when we take a look at the recent price action, it is continuing to form lower lows and as well as lower highs. So the chart is looking very bearish. And I could actually see it filling in that gap to the downside sometime this week. Keep in mind, there's a lot of volatility ahead. We have the Fed meeting that's going to be happening on Wednesday, and we still have to look forward to GDP numbers, and we have Meta and as well as Amazon and Apple that's going to be releasing earnings on Thursday. So that is why this gap fill is very likely, and congratulations to all my traders out there that were able to take advantage of the move to the downside. And if you're looking for a turnaround, like I was saying, then you need this stock being able to make a move going to at least $14 and then gaining some momentum. But like I said, I'm just not seeing it. As far as for Lucid is concerned, very similar to Chargepoint, it is continuing to form lower lows and as well as lower highs. So the chart is looking bearish as well. And it looks like it wants to test the bottom range of the zone that I was talking about. So what does this mean? It does have a gap that needs to be filled around $17.25, and we could see a move going down to $16 for this week. If you want to see a turnaround out of the play, it needs to get above at least $19.50 and then make that move back to that psychological area at $20 and then seeing what it could do from there. As far as for this particular move, I'm not seeing that either for this week. It's either going to fill in that gap at $17.25, then you want to see if it could hold support around 17, but if it doesn't do that, I can see it pulling back to around $16.38. Let's see what happens, and I'll keep you guys inside of the loop. We'll talk soon.